Today I'm taking you behind the scenes of Universal Studios Hollywood new insane event, Universal Fan Fest Nights. A behind the scenes look into the new walkthrough experiences. That's right everybody, Universal Studios Hollywood has invited us out to tour the two amazing new walkthrough experiences that are similar to Halloween Horror Nights, both the Star Trek experience and Dungeons and Dragons. Now from here on out, this is your big spoiler warning. There will be spoilers for Universal Fan Fest Nights in the next couple clips / footage, so you have been warned. I'm giving you another 5 seconds or so. Click out of this video if you don't want spoilers, but if you want the spoilers, let's begin. So we first headed down to the soundstage behind Transformers. For those of you guys who frequent Halloween Horror Nights, you know this is where the Weekend Haunted House was last year. And keep in mind, with these two walkthroughs, we're only able to take some pictures and videos of different areas of this experience. We weren't able to take photos and videos of the entire thing. So while we may only be showing you a couple rooms, keep in mind there is a lot more that we did not record. They explain, like, unlike an HHN house, you are going to be pulsed through these different experiences. You're going to be split up into two big groups. And one thing that I noticed, especially with Dungeons and Dragons, is that this whole experience will really rely on the actors. We're going to see about 10 to 12 different actors throughout this whole attraction. They're going to be setting up the storyline, and the storyline for Dungeons and Dragons is you have to recover the dragon staff from none other than Xanthar, which does make an appearance, and let me tell y'all, it's pretty incredible, which I won't spoil or anything, but it's pretty incredible. You start off in a couple rooms and a couple pre-shows that sets up the whole storyline. There's different projection mapping and stuff that you can see above you in these different rooms. Now in this room, an animatronic will actually pop up. It's actually going to be in that treasure chest that you see on the left hand side, so there'll be some form of activation is what they're calling it. And in this area will also be another activation where guests will get involved in sort of a puzzle inside of the middle of this room. I'm assuming with the 10 to 12 minute mark that they're aiming for these two different experiences, you'll spend at least like 2 to 3 minutes in each room, and some guests will interact with the different things and volunteer for different things. And I think that's one of the cool things, especially about this one in specific, since you are going to be participating, is that no matter what, you will get a different experience each time that you go through. But that brings us to Xanthar's lair, and this is where the big reveal of Xanthar himself is at. Like I said, we didn't get a photo or video of it, but let me tell y'all, it's definitely worth checking out this experience because it is very, very impressive. Of course, in Xanthar's lair, the characters are still following us, and this is where we recover the dragon staff once and for all, and you can see all of his different treasure and different gold all over the place. He has quite a good stash here. Huh? Is it Xanthar? Oh. How do you know that?
I feel like I've heard Xanthar before, but never Xanthar. Like, that doesn't sound like a Dungeons and Dragons type.
Alright, well guys, Savannah's telling me I'm wrong. For Xanthar, however you pronounce it, the bottom line is he has the dragon staff and we need to take it back from him. And he is hiding in his lair and we need to recover it. So then when we finally recover it, we head into the final room, which it's kind of like a jungly, foresty vibe, if you will. Here we'll see some more exciting lighting effects and appearances from characters that we met in the beginning of the pre-show and everything. And it'll kind of wrap everything up, and we recover the dragon staff, and we all can go home happy that we were not eaten by the giant Xanthar, whatever Savannah's saying it is. But yeah, it was really interesting to see how they utilize this soundstage for more so of like a pulsed experience. You can really tell when walking through it just how big that soundstage is compared to, I mean, they took it looks like, because we saw like all the behind the scenes of it and everything, it looks like it takes up the entire soundstage, versus with Halloween Horror Nights, it only takes up a portion of it, just to kind of give you guys a scale of how big these different rooms are. We saw this with all the lights on, so it's kind of hard to get a good idea of the projection effects, the lighting effects, and all these different elements that we'll be able to experience next week when FanFest Nights kicks off. But that is not the same with Star Trek Red Alert. However, let's take a break to look at some merch. But before we head on over to the next experience, let's check out some of the merch that literally just debuted for Universal Fan Fest Nights. Of course, we got the Yoshi stuff here. Gotta love it. I'm really digging this shirt right here. This shirt's really freaking cool with all the colorful Yoshis that you can meet down in Super Nintendo World during this event. Got a fun new Yoshi backpack here with colorful Yoshis all over the place. And of course, Yoshi's not the only property that will be featured at FanFest Nights. We have a big presence here in the studio store of just generic Universal FanFest stuff. A really cool cup right there. We obviously got the hoverboard fanny pack or little side bag. Here's a good look at all the One Piece stuff. They definitely have tons and tons of merchandise for this event. It's pretty cool. I really like that backpack right up there. This stuff looks pretty freaking cool in here. There's Jujutsu Kaisen stuff, some more Universal FanFest Nights stuff. I really like that sweater right there. And then the Dungeons and Dragons area. Wow. Here's just a sneak peek of all the merchandise that we'll give you for now. But yeah, it's all now available here at Universal Studios Hollywood. Star Trek Red Alert is our next walkthrough experience that we got to check out behind the scenes of. It is in the former Walking Dead location, or now as we all know is a UBE building, and they are really utilizing the indoor queue space for this. They're actually going to be playing the pre-show stuff and give a little bit more context to what you can expect for Star Trek Red Alert. So the whole idea of this is we're going to be touring Enterprise D, the Enterprise D Museum. So we need to hop on the shuttlecraft to get us there. Now they did a really good job at this entry portal. We're going to go inside the shuttlecraft. There's going to be a little screen that's playing with different stuff on it, kind of transporting us to Enterprise D. And lo and behold, we are transported onto Enterprise D. And if you look behind you, you'll get a glimpse of exactly what that shuttlecraft looks like. I thought that was a really neat ad. As soon as everybody turned around and saw that, they're like, wow. So we are on the ship now, and they're kind of breaking down the whole storyline, kind of giving us a tour of the different things that we can find on this ship. Just like Dungeons and Dragons, we are going to meet 10 different characters, and throughout the different rooms, we come to discover that there's an entity joining us, some form of entity that is joining us on Enterprise D. I really love this location. I think that they did a great job with Star Trek Red Alert. The one thing that they talked about is even for general public guests who aren't necessarily invested in the lore of these different properties, they're still going to have a good time. Now it's going to be even more fun for the guests who are big fans of Star Trek and Dungeons and Dragons and the other properties featured at Universal FanFest Nights, but they kept repeating that it's about authenticity and fan service. That's what FanFest Nights is all about. And even me, who's not a Star Trek fan, I was amazed at just seeing it with no actors in there or anything. It was pretty freaking cool. We go into the med bay where we see different characters in there, and we get more lore behind the entity that's joining us. And I think one of the coolest scenes throughout this whole thing is, of course, the end, where we get to the Enterprise D bridge and we see the seats, and these seats were actually used in filming for Star Trek. So I thought that was a pretty cool ad that they mentioned to us. This giant last scene is going to have different effects on the walls and on the big screen in the middle that wasn't turned on quite yet. And then of course we need to find a way back to Earth. So they describe that in order to get back to Earth, you're going to go through some fog effects and everything to transport you back to Earth, and it's going to be really cool. Overall though, my main takeaway, if you have no idea what FanFest Nights is and what these two experiences are going to be, just think of them as a Halloween Horror Nights experience. Just you're in giant groups and you're more involved in the storytelling. It's pretty amazing to see what they're doing with different properties that aren't stuff that we've seen before, like sci-fi and fantasy related. And I think that if they're going big with this, which it looks like they are judging from what we saw, and then I think FanFest Nights is going to be a huge success, and I definitely think that we could see it for years to come. Out of the two, after walking through them, I think that I'm definitely excited right now for Star Trek Red Alert more. However, with the different things that they tease for Dungeons and Dragons, I think that may amaze me even more. But they're both going to be good. They're going to be a whole lot of fun. And if you want to check out this event, it kicks off on April 25th. So make sure that you get your tickets. Because there's even more big properties like One Piece, A Grand Pirate Gathering, there's the Wicked Meet and Greet, there's Back to the Future, Destination Hill Valley, and so much more. But if you like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button with those bell notifications on, and leave this video a like if you did enjoy it. But as for today's video, my name is Scott, and you have been watching Exploring Attractions. Positivity is key, and most importantly, remember to keep exploring. Peace out, everybody.